Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to my Elimination Chamber picks and predictions. A little bit of housekeeping. Obviously there's going to be some background noise. You got multiple televisions on in the background and of course we have pets. So apologies for the background noise as always. And as far as the recent Chris Featherstone report, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it right this second. If you do know what I'm talking about, I will be covering it later in the video when I talk about the Elimination Chamber, which I have written down last year because I assume it's going to be the main event. I will talk about it. It'd be ignorant not to, but we'll get there when we get there. So, as always, I'm going to tell you who I want to win the matches and who I think is going to win the matches. I did my best this time for it to be a little different. Normally, my picks and predictions kind of line up. I'm like, oh, I want that person to win, and I think they're going to win too, and that kind of makes this boring. So I made sure to really sit down, think, and try to make my pick and my prediction two separate things, except for one match where I couldn't help myself. And I'm just going to do it in the order I've written down. I have no clue if this is going to be the order at the pay-per-view or not. We'll talk about that in a second as well. I have my opinions on that. But the first match I have written down here is Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton taking on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Of course, that I've been all about Nia Jax this year, the last year plus, especially. I think she's on the best run of her career. I think that she has been doing great work. I think she's improved in the ring. I think she's improved on the microphone. I won't stop talking about it. And of course, this feud started basically at the Royal Rumble when Nia Jax eliminated Trish Stratus, I believe. And then Trish has been helping out Tiffany Stratton, etc., etc. I have my pick on here as Nia and Candice because I continue to be on the Nia Jax train. I continue to think that she needs these big wins. She deserves these big wins. This version of Nia Jax is the best version of Nia Jax. She really, in my opinion, she peaked when she won Queen of the Ring and became Women's Champion and all that stuff. But I don't think she's dropped down since losing the title. I think she's still very talented. She's still in the right places at the right times. And this Tiffany Stratton feud has been great. I think bringing in Trish Stratus was a great idea. And that's who I want to win. And it's not that I don't love Trish Stratus. Of course I love Trish Stratus. And of course I love Tiffany Stratton. But seeing Candice LeRae finally be in a big-time feud, I think she deserves to be on the winning end of something. And I think Nia Jax, especially if she were to, like, pin Trish Stratus, and maybe she pins Tiffany and gets a title rematch before Mania or something. But either way, we have this incredible feud, and I just think Nia could benefit from the win. I don't think Trish needs a win like that. I don't think... cat interruption. I don't think that Tiffany needs the win either. I mean, she's the women's champion, sure, but her suffering a loss to Nia would just continue to build that feud and give Tiffany one more thing to do before WrestleMania. I mean, WrestleMania is not for another month and a half. So you got to fill that time. I hate to be that guy, but you do. You got to fill that time. My prediction, on the other hand, is Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton. Elimination Chamber is in Toronto, Canada. That's Trish's hometown. She's going to be super over. Tiffany already is super over. She was super over for a while now. There was a pay-per-view last year. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a Saudi event. My memory is not fully sure, but she was in a match, and when she came out, the reaction to her surprised me. I mean, I've always been a big Tiffy Time fan, but the crowd getting so behind her has been awesome to see, and it's been really natural. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing her in Charlotte at WrestleMania. That is a completely different video for a different day. But yes, my prediction is that Trish and Tiffany will take home the win. Trish will probably pick up the victory. She might pin Candice LeRae. I don't think she'll let her pin Nia. I don't think she should be pinning Nia. But also because Trish is such a good person and she likes to pay it forward, I could see Tiffany picking up the win. I could see Tiffany winning the matchup with the PME on Candice. I still don't think Nia should be taking the pin, but there you have it. My pick is Nia and Candice, but my prediction is Tiffany Stratton. Now, when I went to write down the rest of the matches, I realized I was about to forget a segment that I don't think needs to be ignored, and I think I need to talk about it before I get to the rest of the matches on the card. I almost talked about this first, but I really wanted to focus on how I wrote it down. But I wrote down here, The Rock wants Cody Rhodes' soul. I don't even know where to begin with this, much less what my prediction is for it. I don't have a pick for it, but the obvious answer is that Cody's going to say no. I mean, no, I don't want to be your corporate champion. That's not my job, blah, 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 blah. As far as what's actually going to go down here, everybody has their opinions. That Chris Featherstone report is one of the things that people are talking about a lot right now when it comes to this segment. Again, we'll get to it when I get to the men's chamber. Something I would like to happen personally, and this isn't a prediction by any stretch of the imagination, I guess this could be my pick for this segment, is I would love Roman Reigns to show up. I do not think that the plan for WrestleMania right now was Roman Reigns versus The Rock. However, WWE could definitely pull that trigger and nobody would complain. Cody could say no. The Rock could be like, oh, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Throw some F-bombs in there. Get in Cody's face. Maybe even attack Cody. Who knows? And then Roman Reigns' music could hit because we haven't seen him since WrestleMania or since the Royal Rumble. Roman's music could hit. He could come to the ring and be like, you know what? Why not now? We couldn't get to it last year. Why don't we get to it this year? You know, why not? Honestly. As far as my prediction for what's going to happen, all I can tell you is Cody's going to say no. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if someone else is going to sell their soul. I don't know if maybe the Bloodline is going to show up and jump Cody Rhodes. And maybe we find out that the final boss is behind Solo Sikoa or Jacob Fatu or something. I honestly have no idea. And of course, the winner of the Chamber is going to go face Cody Rhodes. So does somebody in the Chamber sell their soul to The Rock and be the corporate champion? I get really quit saying the phrase "sell your soul." He's not the Undertaker. The point is, this is going to lead to something. That's why my pick, quote unquote, is that Roman Reigns shows up and we finally get that match. Because the longer we push it back, the less of a chance there is that it's going to happen at all. Because no matter how good of shape you're in, and this is something The Rock has said on multiple occasions, being in shape and being in wrestling shape are two different things. And I can vouch for that. I trained to be a wrestler for nearly 8 months. And I felt like physically I was in decent shape, but getting in the ring is something completely different. And especially with someone as high caliber as Roman Reigns. So that's what I think should happen. As far as what's going to happen, I'll find out with the rest of you. The next thing I've written down here, and this is because I figured I should get to the Chambers last, is the Owens-Zayn unsanctioned match. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Obviously, this match is going to be great. They probably pushed for it to be in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber. They're both from Canada. Don't ask me where in Canada. I don't know if they're from Toronto or not. I honestly don't remember. I think Zayn is from Montreal. Kevin might be too, for all I know. But the point is, it's Canada. The fans are going to love both men. They'll probably still boo Kevin because he's the bad guy. But I mentioned earlier the match lineup, the match order for this event. Personally, I think this match should go on last. Not just because of who's in it, but because it's an unsanctioned match. And I do admit, and this is something that might get me hollered at in the comments, but I admit that comes from an AEW mindset from back in like the first 2 or 3 years of the company. If they had a unsanctioned match, a lights out match, it was the last match on the card because it was unsanctioned. It wasn't actually happening. So they would get the proper main event out of the way and be like, okay, show's over. Now you two go out there and fight. And I thought that worked really, really well, especially the first couple of lights out matches they had. And of course, the Omega Moxley one always jumps to mind. And while I don't want WWE to become AEW by any stretch of the imagination, I do think that's a smart thing to do, especially when it's Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. With their history and the fact that it's an unsanctioned match and the fact that they're probably going to kill each other in Toronto, of all places, I wouldn't be bothered one bit if it closed the show. And I think it should. I had the same thought process when Drew McIntyre and CM Punk had their Hell in a Cell match. I think it's when Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns were on a team as well. So, like, obviously that was going to be the main event. Just like, obviously the Elimination Chamber should probably be the main event. I don't agree with it. I think Owens and Zayn closing the show would make a lot of sense, especially since one of my predictions is that Randy Orton's going to show up. Before, during, or after, I don't know. Probably after. This is the match where my pick and prediction are the same. It's Kevin Owens. I love Sami Zayn, but Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, especially. And he's one of the best characters in all of WWE at the moment. The fact that they let him run with this I'm going to pile driver you and break your neck and kill you storyline has been great, and it works with Kevin Owens. So I think he should win. I think he's going to win. One of the predictions I've seen that I don't want to happen personally is that Kevin Owens basically just whoops Sami Zayn for a few minutes. Zayn gets a couple of moves in, then he whoops Sami Zayn some more, kills him, wins, and we're done. I do think this should be a back and forth. I think they should get 20, 30 minutes, and they should just murder each other. They should hit each other with crazy moves. Sami Zayn should hit like one of his that brainbuster on the turnbuckle, but I think the turnbuckle should be exposed. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Kevin Owens should hit some sort of pile driver through a table or on the concrete or something. I think they should just absolutely kill each other. I think this match should make WWE casuals, for lack of a better word, uncomfortable. I do. People like my mom. I love my mother to death. I bring up my family sometimes. My mother is a casual WWE fan. She likes the good guys. She hates the bad guys, except for a few exceptions like Drew McIntyre because he's hot, and he is. But I know, of course, she hates CM Punk. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but she hates CM Punk. But people like my mother would be taken aback by how brutal Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens could be if this was like a Vince McMahon WWE street fight. They'd use a couple kendo sticks, a table, and maybe get out a barbed wire weapon and then not use it. That's what my mother would expect from a match like this. So, but I think they should push the limits. I think people watching this match should be uncomfortable, especially if they are WWE, again, casual. I don't know a better word. But I do think Owens should win. I'm rambling. But I do think Kevin Owens should win. I don't know what he does at WrestleMania. I assume Randy Orton, which is why I think Kevin Owens should win. And he should be celebrating. He should turn around. The fans should be screaming their heads off because there's Randy Orton, RKO. There's your WrestleMania match. What does Sami Zayn do at WrestleMania? I don't know. That's not what we're talking about. So there, my pick and prediction is Kevin Owens. Now we move on to the Women's Elimination Chamber. It's Roxanne Perez, Bayley, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Naomi. Now, originally, my pick for this match was Bianca Belair. I wanted Bianca Belair to win the Royal Rumble. I really want to see Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. However, they have been talking about this Jade Cargill thing for so long now. I do think we're headed that direction. The big rumor, the big fan theory is that it was Naomi that attacked Jade Cargill. So what does Bianca do at WrestleMania? Probably does a match against Naomi. Maybe it's her and Jade against Naomi and a partner. I don't know. Again, we're not here to talk about WrestleMania. But this one was hard. This one was really hard. Because I can't really think of who should win the match as far as predictions go. And again, originally I wanted Bianca to win because the winner's going to face Rhea Ripley, and that's just, you can't go wrong with that match. It's big, meaty women slapping woman bones, or whatever Simon Miller likes to say. But after some thinking and some, I guess, soul searching, my pick for the match is Roxanne Perez. She has been on an absolute tear, I think, in my opinion, since last year, since last Royal Rumble. When she appeared at that Royal Rumble, she was really starting to build. And not that she wasn't already great, but I think the last 12 months have been the best of her WWE run, and now she's qualified for the main roster Elimination Chamber. And I would love to see it. Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley is one of those classics. It's, the big, powerful woman against the small, fast Spitfire. And I think Rhea's done feuds like this before. And it's classic. It's the old school stuff. And people would love to see Roxanne Perez win the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. And that's kind of why I made that decision. I've been a big Roxanne Perez fan since before she was in WWE, when she was Roxy. And then she came to WWE, and I've loved her ever since. I think her heel work has been fantastic. When she eventually turns back babyface, it's going to be huge. And I think her and Rhea Ripley could have a ripper of a match. I really do. I think she's the perfect foil for someone like Rhea Ripley. And she's still a heel, but people like her enough to where this would be one of those matches where you go into Mania going, who's going to win? Does Rhea retain? Does she keep that power thing? Or does Roxanne surprise everybody? As far as my prediction, and this was the hardest part, looking at this lineup and thinking about what's everybody doing, what comes out of the other end, what happens next. I landed on Bayley as my prediction. I think WWE is going to do Bayley versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. You look at all the teases they've done. They did the Bayley-Roxanne thing already. I think they're going to be in a mini forever feud, at least for the next few months. But I think it's going to be Bayley. I think that there's been enough hints that that's what WWE wants to do. I mean, Bayley won last year's Royal Rumble, and she won at WrestleMania and all that, and she kind of fell by the wayside for a few months, but now she's back in the talks, and again, they've teased a lot with her with Rhea. So I think it's going to be Bayley. again, there hasn't been any obvious points when it comes to who WWE is going with, but that's my prediction. And again, we'll do a video about what everyone's doing at WrestleMania, maybe later, maybe not. I might just let it happen. But there you have it. My pick is Roxanne Perez. My prediction is Bayley. And I wouldn't mind Bianca winning, just for the record. It's just I don't think she's going to. Then we get to the men's Elimination Chamber, which, again, I assume is going to be the main event. I could be wrong. But it's Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Damian Priest. Now, this is where I have to talk about that Chris Featherstone report. Because I thought about not mentioning it because there are people in better positions. There are people like Simon Miller, who I always bring up, who has a much bigger following than I do. I have a couple hundred people, or not even a couple hundred, I have like 120 subscribers plus, and only 15 to 20 of them are going to watch this video. Other wrestling fans are going to tune in because this is what's going on right now. But there are people in better positions to talk about this, but I can't do a predictions video without mentioning it. Apparently, according to him and according to certain sources, right now the person WWE has pegged to win the Elimination Chamber is Drew McIntyre. You can say what you will about that. It kind of lines up with other reports that Drew McIntyre wasn't happy with his WrestleMania direction. He was going to face Damian Priest, which would make sense to some degree, but I understand where he's coming from because the Damian Priest thing happened last year at WrestleMania, and then they never really talked about it again. Yes, Damian eliminated him from WrestleMania, but we all were there for that. That felt really awkward. That didn't feel like a big moment. Something just didn't go right, and so Drew voiced his frustrations, and now the rumor after that was that WWE listened, they saw everybody's responses online, and that they decided to pivot. This would be one hell of a pivot, but that's where my whole conversation about someone selling their soul to The Rock comes from, because it could be Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre could be like, you know what, it's my time, and no one sees me for the person, the wrestler, the fighter that I am, except The Rock, so I'm going to take him up on his offer and become WWE champion. However, that being said, this is WWE. So I'm going to stick with my original picks and predictions. I'm not going to predict Drew McIntyre just because a report came out, because everybody assumed John Cena was going to win the Royal Rumble. Did he? Unfortunately, speaking of John Cena, unfortunately, my picks and predictions for the Elimination Chamber, I think, are the exact same as they were for the Royal Rumble. My pick is CM Punk, and my prediction is John Cena. I know for all the other matches I went into detail first, but I figured I'd just spit it out here. My pick is always going to be CM Punk. I've said it a million times in these videos. I will always be a CM Punk fan. I think you need to pull the trigger this year because I don't think you're going to have another conversation like this. I don't think next year comes around and we talk about CM Punk main eventing WrestleMania again. I mean, if we do, we do. It just doesn't feel like it. It feels like now is the time. I think CM Punk should win. I think he should main event night 2 or night 1, doesn't matter, of WrestleMania. And it should be him and Cody Rhodes. I think that's like the big money match on the cards right now. A lot of people are saying The Rock and Cody Rhodes, and I don't disagree with that. That is a big money match. But I don't think it's time for that just yet, especially since The Rock's doing this whole sell your soul to me thing. I think Punk and Rhodes is the big money match. I do think it should close out night 2 because a night 1 main event is a WrestleMania main event, period. Okay, you don't hear people saying that a night 1 Tokyo Dome main event isn't a main event. So it's the same thing with WrestleMania. However, people will always look at the night 2 Sunday night closing match as the main event. And I think that's what should close the show. And I think it should be CM Punk standing over everybody with the WWE Undisputed Championship. That's a different... that has nothing to do with the Elimination Chamber, but that's why I picked CM Punk to win. My prediction remains John Cena. I do think WWE is going to give John Cena that last championship. A lot of people are talking about John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. And my prediction, again, even with the Chris Featherstone, I keep wanting to say Chris, report, I do think John Cena is going to win this Elimination Chamber. I think this is the path for him to go to WrestleMania because I don't, again, talking about WrestleMania, I don't know what he does. I know there's a heavy rumor about him and Logan Paul, but we'll talk about that again. If Drew McIntyre does win, I don't think that's a problem at all. If the report is correct, whether he joins The Rock or just wins the Elimination Chamber surprises everybody, WWE might just be in the habit of surprising people right now, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it at all. Drew and Cody would have an awesome match, and Drew could get his big moment, you know, his real big moment, since, excuse me, they did everything with Punk and Priest last year at WrestleMania. This, you know, Drew won the title, but then he immediately lost it. This gives the chance for Drew to win the big title, no offense to the World Championship, but he could win the WWE Undisputed title and actually just be happy. And that could give us another Punk McIntyre feud. He could be like, hey, you know what I did? I main evented WrestleMania and then won the WWE Championship. You didn't do that. So, pick is CM Punk, prediction is John Cena. However, I'm aware of the report that it may be Drew McIntyre. So there you have it, my picks and predictions for the Elimination Chamber event tomorrow night. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a really good show. I don't know. Honestly, the match I'm looking forward to the most is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Obviously, I stand by my thought process that should main event. They're in Toronto. It's unsanctioned. The only issue there, I guess, is that with the Randy Orton return, it kind of like ruins, I guess, a clean ending to WWE pay-per-view. And it's not like it is a pretty big return, but it's not one of those really big returns that closes a show. And like Roman Reigns was back in the day, would stand tall, and all of a sudden John Cena's music would hit, and they'd stand face to face. Orton should just come out and RKO Kevin Owens. Simple. But I still think it should main event. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think is going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. And of course, I will be watching the Chamber tomorrow and then doing my review on Sunday. And we'll see if I got any of this right. So until next time, at least until the Elimination Chamber review video, this is JT Channel. I am JT. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.